This is our next installment of this little bit of a passion project I've got going to honor my friend Matthew Bellis, who, for those of you who are following along, know at this point that he was a brilliant educator and a terrific person. And fundamentally, we lost him way too early. And as a way of honoring his memory and sort of preserving some of his legacy, we've got some of these conversations going along with people, right? I sort of put out it's like I put out the bat signal, and people responded, which was great. And so today, I'm here with Carla Birnberg, and we are just going to have a little bit of a conversation. So, Carla, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do and why you do it, and the salient points.
That kind of ties in with why I jumped on this when I saw you post it. And I just love that you're doing this. I mean, I'm kind of at that point in my life where I think all any of us want to know is that we'll be remembered and that we mattered. And I mean, I could tear up and I didn't know your friend. So I love that you're doing this and making it a priority.
Well, thank you. And tell us a little bit about the work you do.
I am chief storyteller for a foundation based in kind of in Austin, although I am Austin, and in Nairobi. And basically, I have two responsibilities. I amplify the stories of our participants or our beneficiaries who are women, youth, but mostly persons with disabilities and voices that have been silenced or excluded. And then I also, educator, work on a project called Upili, which means secondary in Kiswahili. And we bring psychosocial support to these students with disabilities by way of counselors who also have disabilities going into the schools. So they share the lived experience. There's that connection and kind of helping them process past traumas, get tools for when they graduate so that they're ready to thrive equal to their non-disabled peers.
It's an admirable effort, right? Something that's, I can imagine there is a huge amount of, the internal sort of excitement and pleasure you see from the outcomes of the work you do, right? Because it's often for those of us who work with some maybe non-traditional communities, we see how it can be difficult. So, well, thank you. I know the work you're doing is probably very impactful and very important, both to your clients as well to, I'm sure you feel a lot of pleasure that you get out of it, for yourself as well. So, I know we're sort of looking at this from, sort of three pieces. And my friend Matthew would send his students off every day. He was an elementary school principal with the same sort of charge of ask good questions, learn something new, and then be kind. So in this effort of sort of curating a whole lot of different people, I was so happy that you sort of reached out and said, sure, I'll do this. And full disclosure, we have never actually met each other, right? We know people in common on LinkedIn. And I guess that's sort of the power of social media, the beneficial part, right? We can leave all the other horrible stuff to the side.
That beautiful connection.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll throw out the first one for you, which is for you, what is a good question that you ask or a good question that you have been asked?
The minute I saw your post, I thought, good question I've been asked, because so much going on in the world, always in the United States in general. I'm Jewish in my community since October 7th. And so the question has been, with a follow-up, why do you do the work you do? And then the spoken or unspoken is because there's a lot of need in our community as well. Yeah. But that first piece, why do you do the work you do, super powerful. I immediately knew my answer, but I loved that people would ask the question.
Yeah. And and I appreciate the fact that you post October 7th, our community, our community sort of writ large,
Hmm.
has felt a little bit under siege.
Hmm.
And so I think it's important, that's an important question. And my friend Matthew, just by, parenthetically, was a rabbi. So was leading and helping young Jewish students really come into their own. So I think there's a nice connection there as well. So
Hmm.
great, I love it. And when you start to think about the learning piece, what is something new that you have learned, or maybe something that you still want to learn?
My whole past 5 years, I have learned something new every day. And mostly it comes to mind around the subject of disability. And a team member said to me 5 years ago, almost the first week on the job, "You are temporarily abled." And I thought, okay, I don't know what you mean. And then she went on to say, "You might break a leg, you might get old and lose your hearing, but you will all be part of her vernacular, the fraternity of the disabled. At
Mm,
some point, you are temporarily abled."
wow, that is a very, I will say that is a very powerful way of looking at disability, because those of
Right.
us who are sort of able-bodied, don't think about it from that perspective, that at some point we all
Hmm.
suffer from some disability. And, the disabilities sometimes are seen and sometimes unseen,
That's it. Yeah.
right? So I will tell you, for our daughter, for our family, where we talk a lot about mental health, and we have all had our challenges, some more than others.
Yeah.
That mental health piece is really starts to fold into, being temporarily able, or not yet
Absolutely.
disabled, right? However you want to look at it. So that's an important element to sort of keep in mind.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing that. That's an interesting perspective that I think people will appreciate. And then the last piece, right, is sort of the action piece of how are you being kind? And I would say, I've been encouraging people to think of it, as broadly or as narrowly as they would like. Right? It could be, how are you being kind to yourself, kind to others, your community, your colleagues, your family, your friends, however that shows up for you.
I did not know I was answering all three, but having not thought about this much, even though it sounds like I am saying being self congratulatory and congratulations, Carla, that is the foundation of my life and the place from which really everything starts for me. I was raised by devout agnostics, so not very religious, even though I have the rituals of faith, but it's do unto others. And as much as possible, I know I fall short, but the kindness is from my favorite golden doodle to my badass, can I say that? 19-year-old, like all
Sure.
of it coming from a place of kindness, really. But at 55, I have that ability to take a beat and ask myself, what's the kind response here? And how would I want to be treated? It's such an important premise in personal value.
Yeah. And I would, from a Jewish perspective, because I grew up in a pretty traditional home.
Hmm.
There's a premise in Judaism, which is you don't have to finish the task, but you're not absolved from doing the work to move it forward, right? So it's a little bit, it marries up well with the sort of do unto others.
I think about that phrase every day
Yeah,
and I have a Jewish friend who I walk with like 4 or 5 times a week. But that's why I get up each morning and do what I do, whether it's raising my daughter, whether it's writing my book, whatever it is, it's that.
excellent. I think it's a great reminder. So we have just sort of turned the page to 2025. You just mentioned writing a book. You want to say a little bit about what the book is, what it's about, and maybe what the timeline is for when we can expect it.
This is my year. So with that, back in the Paleozoic era, I was one of the first online influencers, and stumbled into this brand, got away from it and grew and experienced different things, and realized the through line of everything for me is consistency, whether it's fitness or writing the book or parenting the child or finishing the project. That's it. So I have a Substack, like we all do, the Consistency Advantage, and that's the book. It's the power and pattern of consistency when it comes to anything and everything in our life. And it's done, and it's being copy edited. And I'm really excited because what I believe in it so much, and it's changed my life so much the past 35 years.
Excellent. I love it. So 2025 will be a year of a book and a book tour and getting the message out.
It is, yes, and lovingly proselytizing about kindness.
Excellent. I love it. Well, it fits very, very neatly into this box of what I've been trying to achieve. So we will be getting this out to lots of folks for them to see it, and I will make sure that we are getting you connected so that when the book comes out, hopefully not, if it's being copy edited, so hopefully
it's ready to go. Yep.
Hopefully we are on the cusp of seeing a book that's available. So we will make sure that we can get people connected to you so they can find the book as well. So I want to thank you so much for doing this.
I love that you're doing this. It touched my heart so much.
This is tremendous, and I know that this is for some people, taking time out of their day is not so easy, and I am floored by how there are people who, right, like you and us, we've never met. We know some people in common, and the willingness for people to take a moment out of their day and have a little bit of a conversation, because it can be very powerful for other people.
We should all be remembered as your friend. Like, this is one of the kindest things. I mean, it's so kind, and we should all be so lovingly remembered and honored.
I hope I can. My only goal is that I do him some justice, and in that all I can do is my part, and bring in some really smart and funny and engaging people to join in the journey. So thank you for that. I much appreciate it.